Hello, hello. Welcome back to the garden. It is almost 100 degrees and very windy. And so, in spite of the weather right now posing a little bit of a challenge to the plants with the heat and the wind, she is in full show. It is so beautiful, extraordinary. And I wanted to walk around the garden today and share something with you, a story from the Bible of Saint Christopher. And if you're agnostic or don't subscribe to Christianity, don't click away. Just listen, because the parallels, the lesson, the support in the story becomes quickly apparent, and it's very applicable to everyone. The way I relate to it is through what I'll call addiction. Addiction. We know it as desires, or anything really that can kind of become our boss. Something in our lives that has a grip on us, or has had a grip on us. The story of Saint Christopher is medicine in that it helps us to see ourselves and find forgiveness. So the story of Saint Christopher, funny enough, Saint Christopher is not the name of our character in the beginning of the story, and you'll see this happens quite a lot in the Bible. But his original name was Reprobus. Reprobus. Reprobus was a giant. He was a giant in a tribe of giants who strived, who had this hunger, this desire, this pull, this burning impulse to put his size, to put himself into service for the most powerful king. My radishes are getting too big. He wanted to put himself into service to the most powerful king, so he left his tribe in pursuit of this impulse to find the most powerful king. And so he did. And when he did, he turned himself over to work in service of this most powerful king's army. Soon enough, though, Reprobus noticed something interesting about the king. When the devil was mentioned, the king would make a gesture of the cross and looked scared. And so Reprobus understood that this king, if he were the most powerful, would not have a reaction like this. So clearly he is not the most powerful. And Reprobus had not achieved what he set out to achieve. So he went to the king and asked the king about this gesture, this reaction he had when he heard the devil's name. And the king at first didn't want to tell him, because he knew that Reprobus was there in service of him because he thought he was the most powerful, and should the king enlighten him, Reprobus would leave him. And Reprobus said to him, "If you don't tell me, I'll leave you." And in that part, in that action, he becomes the trickster, because the king tells him about the devil, and Reprobus leaves anyway. So he tricked him. He becomes the trickster. And so Reprobus leaves in search of the devil, and he travels into the depths of hell to find the devil, and he puts himself into service for the devil's army. And it wasn't long where he noticed that the devil too cowered at the name of someone, and that was Christ. And so Reprobus, he employed the trickster within again and told the devil, if you don't tell me about Christ, I will leave your army. And the devil tells him. And Reprobus leaves anyway because he is still on a mission. He is not satisfied. He's not satisfied until he completes his mission. He has an impulse inside that will not die. And so he leaves the devil in search of Christ. Not because he loves Christ or understands Jesus or God, but because he is presently possessed in service to an internal impulse, an impulse of the ego, an impulse of his body. And so he meets a monk, and he asks the monk to tell him how he can find Christ. And the monk says, you can pray. You can pray to find Christ inside. And Reprobus says, oh, no. I can't pray. I'm basically made of evil. I can't do that. I can't feel it. I can't. And so the monk, in earnest effort to help Reprobus find Christ, says you can fast. And again, Reprobus says, no, I am density. I am muscle. I am meat. I need food. I cannot fast. Well, hello. Just another day. One more day. And so the monk says, you can put your body into service for Christ, for God. You can go to the edge of the world and you can swim the exiles across the river. And Reprobus says, I can do that. I can do that. Oh, hello, Lavender. Reprobus, his body in service to Christ, and he is bringing people across the river, and he encounters the child Jesus. And Jesus is escorted across the river by Reprobus. And Reprobus experiences for the first time the true power of Christ. And beyond this point is when Reprobus gets his new name, St. Christopher, which is translated as the carrier of Christ. So how does this bring medicine, relatability to the Dharma of humanness, of addiction and humanness? In the Bible, giants are used as a symbol of, to symbolize the opposite of God's plan, to symbolize too much, the larger than our allotment, the ego's reach out into the world, the body's need for more. Just the larger statue of the giants is a representation of our giant internal impulses, drives, what can feel so giant inside. Addiction, striving for money, the desire for a reputation by the ego. I'm not a big fan of oregano, except for in the garden, because it's so perfect. Reprobus the representation of the one possessed by addiction, by a story, an impulse. The one who needs to leave, needs to run, needs to find, needs to put himself into service for this strong internal desire. The addict who leaves in pursuit of this one thing, and nothing will stop them. Reprobus puts himself into service of a powerful king, but still is not satisfied. He travels into the depths of hell. And the addict, the human, the ego in pursuit. Gosh, this smells so good. Just petting it. In pursuit, that impulse, that compulsion, that next drink, for example, that inability to calm our mind when we're angry, the next job, task, money, drink, person, date, meal, that bigness that rests inside of us, well, more like unrestful inside of us, that drives us and says, keep going, this is not it, keep going, more, one more. That is the giant. That is the giant by representation inside of the story. And how that internal giant will not be satisfied. It will drag our bodies, it will take our lives all the way to hell and beyond. But this is the medicine, dear friends. Nothing is wasted in God's creation. I'm not saying that we should settle into evil ways. We should not settle into those compulsions. There is obviously a way, the way. However, God does not waste anything. I was told early on in my sobriety that God uses even our ego. He uses our defects to bring us to Him. And that's a really God-heavy way to explain it, which I think is beautiful. But still, if you are struggling to connect with this language, it's this. Every part of our journey, every step must be had. Every last drop. Because it's taking us home. It is. And just like Reprobus, he was in pursuit. An unstoppable pursuit. To serve the most powerful king. And when he found the most powerful king, he was surprised to see that it was a child, the opposite of powerful. And that's what we experience. We experience the hard. We think that everything that's worth something, everything of power is big, heavy, tangible, scary. But it's not. It's subtle and it's gentle, and when it touches our heart, we are changed. And we can no longer go in pursuit with that changed heart. Reprobus could not, can you imagine, could not turn back and go in pursuit in search of another powerful king with his heart changed like it was. Every last step must be had on this journey. Every last step. And so regardless where you are in your journey, what you are presently struggling with, because I know you're struggling with something, we all are. whatever your struggle is, you can find forgiveness. You can remember that God is using all of you, every step, to help refine you, to help burn away that which takes you in the wrong direction, to help burn away the threads that tie you to a thing, an objective, a pursuit, an addiction. That isn't true. That isn't love. That isn't God. That doesn't benefit you. So while we can agree, there are parts of this journey that hurt, that we don't want. Have you ever seen garlic this tall? It's like 4 feet tall. We can agree, as we consider things right now in our lives that we are struggling with, we can agree, oh my gosh, this is not my favorite part of life. It's not my favorite. But we can lessen the grip it has on us by remembering this too is bringing me home. This too is bringing me home. And suddenly the air around us, the struggle in our heart, everything softens. And there it is, the subtlety, the softening that occurs inside because Christ is internal. Christ consciousness is, we don't need to encounter the child Jesus as in the story. We don't need to take it so literally. It is an awakening, a softening, a lessening, an emptying inside, where the thing that we are trying to evolve through and our struggle with it begin to soften and eventually merge and become understanding, and the gentle words that simply say, I know where I want to be and this isn't it. Come on, beets, I'm ready for you. Oh, this beautiful sage. I wish you could smell this. So, dear friends, I hope that this helped to bring some light, some levity, some medicine, some joy, some relatability onto your journey. Whatever it is you're struggling with, know that you are loved and you are walking home. Every step you take is a walk home. So, we don't want weeds in our garden, but we don't have to freak out when they're there. Take the journey, take the process, have faith. Thank you so much for joining me today. Just a simple little garden task, pulling some weeds and celebrating all the life in it. I hope that your journey is deeply fascinating.
A wretch like me,
blessings to you.
I once was lost, but now am found. Was blind, but now I see. Twas grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fears relieved. How precious just did that grace appear, the hour